Hey FlossTube, it's Lisa here again. I hope you're all well. Welcome back to my channel. Hi if you're an existing viewer, and welcome if you're new and this is the first time that you've joined me. So it'd be good to spend some time with you today. So I'm going to do an early update. So yes guys, you've not entered some strange time zone and you're thinking, well, it can't possibly be the end of January, beginning of February. It isn't. I'm here a little bit earlier than planned because, what date are we on? We're on the 20th, so it's Saturday the 20th of January, but this time next week I will be at the Glasgow Scottish stitching retreat, so I'll not be here to do an update video for you, so I thought I'll do it now and then obviously, you know, it's done for the month. So yeah, so bear with me. So I have got some reasonable progress to share with you, so it's not too bad. So yeah, I've been back to work a couple of weeks, so I had the week after New Year away from work as well, so I took a bit of an extended holiday between Christmas and New Year, which was really nice. So I managed to get a bit of work into my projects during that time, but obviously now I'm back to work. Particularly this week, progress has slowed down massively. I've been really busy this week and really tired. We've got, I think most countries in the world have it at the minute, a really bad outbreak of the flu bug. I think there's, I don't know, more than 100 people so far in the UK who have died from it. So just trying to keep myself well and fit and going to bed early, where, you know, sometimes I'd maybe sit up a bit longer than I should really and stitch, where I've been trying to get myself to bed at a reasonable hour, just to, as I said, just to keep strong and healthy really, so I don't get it. Mind you, having said that, if I'm going to get it, I'll get it now. I've been to Tesco to do some grocery shopping this morning, and there was a woman walking down the shopping aisle, on my shopping aisle, and she sneezed as she approached me, and she sneezed 4 times down the aisle. She didn't sort of cover her nose, so it was just this projectile sneezing snot fest in the middle of the shopping of the supermarket. So yeah, so I have a feeling that if I'm going to pick up any symptoms whatsoever, it will be now because of her and her disgusting ways of ways of spreading that bug as well. So yeah, so this morning I went off and did some grocery shopping, and then I called in to see my parents because they live really local. They've moved house again, so they moved house literally a year following their previous house move. So they moved from where we all used to live together and across the place where I live, and they were downsizing because obviously me and my sister had moved out, you know, many years ago, and they were kind of, I don't know, rattling around in this quite big house really that they didn't really need the space of. So they decided they were going to downsize, move to where, close to where I was, and downsize a little bit too much. So they've moved to a bigger house now. So they've been in there for about, what, coming up 3 months maybe? I think probably 3 months. And yeah, they're just knocking it to pieces. So I go around and have a look at progress to see where they're getting on and what they're doing. So it's going to be fantastic when they're finished. So I'm really looking forward to see what it looks like. And then I'm thinking of making some potential home improvement alterations to my house, possibly this year, maybe next year, depending on how things go really. So without further ado, let's get into some of the cross stitch and some of the comments. So thank you so much for all of your lovely comments that you left me for the previous upload. While I was on my previous video, passed a comment on one of my finishes, which, if you remember, it was the Nora Corbett Electra piece. So it was this one, which was all very nice, beautiful, lovely. And then when I finished, I noticed that there's a slub in the fabric. Can you remember, just down on the bottom there? So it's gonna impinge no matter how much I frame it, because it kind of sits midline in line with the moon. So there's no way really, unless you did some clever framing, which probably not going to do, that you'd get rid of it, but a couple of very clever people posted a comment. So Susan Willoughby, thank you for this, suggested maybe stitching a spider over the slub. I mean, you know, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? But it never even crossed my mind. So Susan suggested that, so thank you so much, Susan. And then Michelle Davis suggested stitching a pumpkin over the slub as well. So I've got a couple of choices in terms of what I decide to do. Based on that, it makes absolute sense for me to personalise this, do something a little bit different with it, and stitch maybe something along those lines, one or the other on it. So I haven't quite decided what I want to do yet. Obviously, because I'm stitching the Harper Hollow autumn piece, on there you've got a couple of charted spiders and some charted pumpkins on there already. So plus you've got the pumpkin from this design that she's holding anyway. So I'm not sure which I'll do, but I'll definitely be doing one of those. And yeah, and I guess it personalises it, doesn't it? So thank you for that help and support. That was really, really insightful. And honestly, I'm thinking, you know, you just think, why didn't I think of that myself? But, you know, sometimes the obvious fails us, doesn't it? The second thing I was complaining about was the fact that Mirabilia don't do PDF patterns. And I have tried to scan the patterns, but you always end up, as I was saying before, with it sort of sitting up off the scanner, so you get kind of a blurred area, then your really good area visualization. I don't know whether or not you've ever noticed that, but Karen Goodchild, hi Karen, suggested cutting up the mirror patterns sort of into segments and then taking them to somewhere like we have Staples in the UK, which is like an office outlet superstore, and they can blow them up to A3 size, so it'll help with the visuals. So I'm thinking with my next one I might actually do that, because I do love stitching the mirrors, and I used to stitch a lot of them years ago, the lavender and lace pieces, the mirrors, and obviously I've uploaded those, you've seen those in one of my early updates. But that was when I was like in my 20s and my eyes were great, 20/20 vision, and they're not so now. So yeah, unless I can zoom in, that's why I like PDFs, where you can put them onto my my Kindle and blow them up like a million times bigger. That works well for me now. So that's a good idea. So thank you for that one as well. So yeah, so as I said, I'm going to do a WIP update, and then stay tuned, because I'm going to do my giveaway, my 1,000 subscriber giveaway, which should have been done months ago, and then obviously I just never got around to it with one thing and another, obviously you know, losing Poppy, and then just, I don't know, life in general. So I want to do that this week and get that out, and obviously, you know, you can see what you think. If you fancy it, you can put yourself in the draw. So let's have a look at some progress then, shall we? So my first piece, and it was a new start this month, and you may or may not remember, I'm really sorry I haven't pressed these, this is all wrinkly and crinkly, I've just literally yanked it off the Q-snap, and you'll be able to tell that. I had selected 3 Clad Factory designs, and I made a start on one of them, and the first one I picked is the Harry Potter Marauders map, the one with I solemnly swear I'm up to no good. So you've got Harry and Fred and George Weasley there. So really all I've got to do with this one is finish off the footprints and stitch in the map. I've had a bit of a problem finding one of the colours for the map. Hobbycraft didn't have it in, it was one of the colours it was missing, good old Hobbycraft. Don't set me off about that place. And then, yeah, it just didn't seem worth it to order it online and then pay £1, you know, shipping. So I've kind of hung back. So what I'm going to do is get my floss chart thing out and have a look for the nearest colour and just sort of take it out of my stash and just stitch it in a different colour, because it's not really, in the grand scheme of things, worth sort of hanging around and waiting for this one piece, one colour rather. So that's where I am with that. So literally got to finish off the map, a few of the footprints. Needle minder there is a Harry Potter crest, and that's from Denkai Designs. That was on my giant Harry Potter sampler from the Clouds factory when I was, you know, stitching a bit of that up. So enjoyed working on that. Stitched up really quite quickly, as you know these smaller designs often do. So it's a nice break from some of the larger pieces. So I should get that finished for next month. The next one you've seen before, sorry, that's stitched on, because I got the fabric out so I remember it, I'm doing it 2/2 on 28 count Cashel linen in light mocha, which is a Zweigart linen. So yeah, 2/1, so it's equivalent to 14 count basically. So the next one, which you've seen before, sorry, it's got some fibre on it, is my All Salem Broom company. This is one of the Primitive Hare designs. So the last time you saw it I had the witch stitched in, and now as you can see I've got the witch, the cat on the broom. It's not quite finished yet. I have to go back with the, I'm trying to think what colour, oh I can't remember, Raven Gentle Art sampler threads, and I can't remember what the brown shade is now. I have mentioned it in one of my other videos. I'll write it in below as I'm talking because it'll come to me later. So I have obviously finished off the cat and the broom, started some of the writing. So I've got Salem, Massachusetts, the date, Broom company. I think I'm trying to think what's up here, All Salem in bigger letters, and then Broom company, and then a little bit more writing down the bottom there. So it's coming on, and then there's a border. Now the border is going to take a long time to stitch, so I'm just going to have to break that up into bite-sized chunks, because that is going to be quite a task and a half. So I'm thinking to myself that this is quite likely to be a piece that I take to the stitching retreat next weekend, because it's not particularly complex, the border, and I'll probably be able to just stitch that and chat away as I go really. It's quite interesting. I mean these are over dyed threads, the Gentle Art sampler threads, and I stitched the witch and then waited because I didn't want to start anything else until I'd got the next batch, because I obviously ran out. And the Raven sampler thread that's come from so-and-so has a lot more green in it than the other. Obviously they're tinged with certain colours, these threads, and yeah, so the black's tinged with green for the Raven, and yeah, there's a lot more of it within the new batch that I've got. So I'm glad that I waited and didn't sort of move on and start stitching all of the other stuff, because the cat's got a bit of a, you won't be able to see I don't think in this light, but he's got a bit of a green tingy stripe to him across his back which I guess makes him a little bit unique. It's quite funny though, because the cat here with its mouth open looks like it's about to take a chunk out of the witch's bum. It doesn't half look like it's going to bite her backside, so I thought that was quite funny as I was stitching that up. But this is stitched on 30 count linen that's been specially hand dyed by the Primitive Hare. So it's called All Salem. So I'm stitching this 2/2, obviously in the call for Gentle Arts threads. So I've made reasonable progress with that. Yeah, I mean it's been fine, no problems. Just stitch away. Obviously the border's freaking me out a little bit, but it's okay. We'll be fine. My latest piece of effort, I'll put it this way because the fabric's just going to hang and hang and hang, is the autumn sampler from Harper Hollow. And if you remember, I'll put a picture in of where I was last time. I was kind of a significant way across the border, but I hadn't quite finished the topper rather. So my goal this month was to finish the topper, which I have done. And then I started, because I was really enjoying this so much, to stitch in the first block. So I've been buying the, this is stitched in MPI silk. So I've been buying the silks as I'm going really. So I finished that topper, And then I thought, well, I'll see what I've got that would allow me to start the next, you know, the first block here. And to be honest, there was nothing of any significance colour-wise that I'd already bought that I could transfer down here. So I had to order some more of the MPI silks, which I did, which have arrived this morning. Some of the colours, one of them's missing. So I'll be able to start that first block, which I'm really looking forward to starting, because I did enjoy that. And I know I was saying last time about the MPI silks and is it worth it? Well, do you know what? Having stitched with them, it was only one night this week that I finished that topper off. I really enjoyed it, and they feel lovely, and I'm kind of glad I did opt for them, because it's something a little bit different, isn't it? I mean, it's going to work out expensive, but I suppose it's just nice for the one piece, isn't it, to do it. So I ordered the majority of them from so-and-so, but there's a couple of colours that they don't have in. And it was the same when I kitted up for the topper, and I ended up ordering from 123 Stitch in the US and ended up getting a couple of patterns and paying the delivery. And it's like, for the sake of 2 silks, do I really want to do that and pay like $11, $12 shipping? So I'm going to see how much I would be missing by not having that particular colour of thread, and I might do the DMC conversion for those couple of colours, depending on how much that colour appears in some of the other blocks as well. So I'm going to have to go and do a bit of research into that and what I'm missing, and then we'll see whether or not it's worth paying the shipping charge for the colours. But yeah, as I said, I have really enjoyed that project, and I'm really keen to get going on the first block, and that is something that will definitely be coming to the stitching retreat with me. So I'll be taking the old Salem Broom Company and this Harper Hollow, I think. This is stitched on 40 counts vintage country mocha. It is a linen. I can't remember which linen, but it is vintage country mocha from so-and-so. So I got fabric again, and I'm stitching this 1/2, so it's the equivalent to 20 count, because I only wanted to use 1 strand of silk per stitch, obviously to keep it down, you know, rather than the 2/2. And with it being 20 count, it's small and you can't see any gaps. In fact, it's really nice. So I'm happy with that one, happy with the progress there. So finally, it's on the Q snap. My last project is the Heaven and Earth design, and this is the Enchanted Christmas Ornament by Donna Glessinger, and it's the Heaven and Earth design. You can see where I was before, so I just sort of started the top of the page, and this is my progress so far. So not quite a page finish yet, but you can certainly see some antler action going on and the start of the toy sleigh coming in on the side. So this is taking quite a bit of stitching up. There's a lot of confetti in there. I mean, I'll show you the back side. It's not too bad, I suppose. I'm trying to keep it as neat as I possibly can on this one, but yeah, there's an awful lot of confetti in this. It's very confetti heavy. It's probably as bad as the skull and the face on my Story Keep of Simply Meant to Be, I would say. And I don't know whether it's because it's not even a mini version, it's just obviously they've cut the circle out of the big design. There's a lot of colour changes in it, and a lot of ninja stitches where you've got one stitch of a colour randomly placed, and I'm of the mind that because I know how effective they look when they're finished, I'm really reluctant not to put that colour stitch in and stitch something else over it. So I do like to be as true to the pattern as I possibly can with these, because they do look outstanding when they're finished. So I think my goal for this month with this would be to get that page finished and make a start, possibly, I don't know, maybe over here even. Because it's not the biggest of designs, and I did say that I really wanted this one finished this year and framed and on the wall. So it's definitely doable. But obviously there's an awful lot of work in it, more so than you think. Probably even how the colours are translating on there. Even in the green there's a massive amount of confetti in that green background, but you know, I love it and I'm keeping going with it and I'm happy. So that is my stitchy progress for the month. So now here's the thing, I obviously do, and I mentioned this in my first video, this is like, what, 18 months ago, a lot of other crafty type stuff. So obviously cross stitch is probably my major, well it is now, it didn't used to be, but it's now my most, I suppose, major hobby and interest. And that's because, I mean, obviously right now I'm in my craft room. I can do this downstairs in the lounge area while I watch TV. You know, it allows me to be with family company. It allows me to be and spend time with Daisy. So, you know, I mean, I'm not up here as much with my other stuff, but, you know, I have lots of other interests apart from cross stitch, which I've not done in a long time. So my other sort of start this month, and literally just this week, and this is by and large it's down to Tina from Simply in Stitches. Hi Tina, if you're watching. I don't know whether you will, or but I know you have watched before. Now Tina does a lot of different things as well, not loads and loads. I mean, they're all in keeping with sort of what she does, but she does a lot of knitting as well. So I've started this week to get my knitting needles back out and start knitting, which is one of the things. I mean, there's others which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. So this project is from Garn Studios, and I'll put in a picture of what I'm working on, so to give you a bit of an idea. So it's a hat and kind of scarf shawl combo. So I thought, well, you know what, I have knit bigger pieces. I have knit hats, scarves. There's a cowl thing that I've knit that I'll show you at another point. I mean, years ago I used to knit jumpers, cardigans, baby garments, you know, sort of cardigans and things. So, you know, there is that side of it that I do. And again, you know, with this I can sort of sit in front of the TV. So I've done a couple of nights work on this, just as a change from the cross stitch really. So you can't really see much. So this is stitched on circular needles. So it's stitched in the round, and this is kind of the progress so far. So you kind of start with this sort of garter stitch edging. Now my understanding is that this will fold under at some point when I kind of stitch and make it up, and then you have like a stocking stitch segment above that, and then it kind of moves into the whole design is based on this English rib pattern work, which is nice. I have done the English rib before. It takes a bit of getting used to, and obviously there's a few false starts within this where I've kind of not done it right. It's not overly complex, but when you haven't picked up a pair of knitting needles for a little while, it does take a bit of while to get your head space back in. So I've started a bit of knitting really. So I'm going to knit the hat and the sort of scarf combo, and then there's a couple of patterns that I've got my eye on from Garn Studios as well, where I might sort of take up a jumper over the next few weeks or so and start that. So that kind of then brings me round to my question. Because of all the other craft stuff that I do, hence the name Crafty Lisa and not Stitching Lisa or something along those lines, I'm just wondering whether or not you'd be interested in seeing me do, I don't know, tutorials or some show and tell and progress reports and some of the other stuff that I do. And what I do a lot of card making, so that ranges from stamping and colouring images, and I do Copic colouring, so the alcohol marker colouring. I do a lot of work with distress pens, watercolours, pencils, you name it really. And I will do a separate video of some of the things that I've made in the past for you to have a look at. So I could do that kind of thing, some tutorials on some of the cards that I've made or I do make. Oh, I also do a lot of beading, so make a lot of beaded jewellery as well, which I can, you know, do a video showing you some of the beaded jewellery work that I do. All sorts of different things. So it's kind of wondering whether or not I do some expansion above and beyond this channel really. And obviously I'd keep it within this channel because there's no point in setting up multiple different channels, you know, one for knitting, one for cross stitch, one for card making and one for jewellery making. But you know, I'd like to invest a little bit more time in this. I don't have a lot of time to invest, but I would like to, you know, make my channel a little bit more successful and, you know, just, I suppose, give a little bit more back. Because what I do like, and this is meant to be no way strange, I like when people upload regularly and you get a sense, more of a sense of them and their life. And I don't know, like, say for example, Tina from Simply in Stitches doing her Vlogmas. I really like that. I really enjoyed, I don't know, just getting to know Tina a little bit more. I don't, you don't know her, but I don't know, just more of a sense of Tina. And obviously Pam's Vlogmas as well, so I watched Pam Reed's Vlogmas. They weren't as long as Tina's, but it's just that sense of, you know, I feel as though I know probably a little bit more about those two guys than, you know, than probably a lot of people know about me. So, you know, it's by no means, you know, do I want it to be a totally intrusive thing, but it'd just be nice to do a little bit more and get more involved with the community. And I've started to do that a little bit more. I mean, I don't know whether you guys have noticed I'm responding more to comments because I was a little bit naughty about that. I'm more likely to comment on other people's videos now rather than just hit the like button, because I don't know, it's just that interaction, isn't it, with people. That's really nice. So I'm going to stop this recording because we're approaching, and I can't believe we are, almost half an hour, and it's going to cut out on me. And then I'm going to come back and do the little bit of haul I've got, because it really isn't very much, and then do the giveaway. So bear with while I stop this and restart it. Right, so we're back. It's a nuisance, that camera. So in terms of haul, there really wasn't a lot. As I said, I bought the extra MPI silk so I can make a start on that first block of the Harper Hollow autumn piece. So that's a start. I got, because when I did buy, and I showed you them, a couple of like the Christmassy country cottage needlework pieces. So for example, the snowman, sorry you're going to get some glare off the package, but there's the snowman. I have shown you these before anyway, so you know, it doesn't really matter. The snowman, I had Home of a Needleworker, sort of what I thought was kitted up. You know, a couple of the smaller designs. And then when I looked in my fabric stash, and by no means is my fabric stash extensive by any stretch, I didn't have a lot of the neutrals. So, you know, you're talking sort of 32 count, 28 count neutrals. So I thought, right, okay, then I probably need to invest in a little bit more of those. So I got some 32 count Murano in cream from So and So. I got some 28 count Permin lamb's wool. I got this from, was it the Patchwork Rabbit? No, Peakside Needleworks. Peakside Needleworks. I got this. So yeah, so that gives me the 28 count. So then I've got the 16 count and 14 count, you know, to do 2/2 on that, some of the neutrals. I finally got my classic colourworks all through for my little house needleworks, Home of a Needleworker. So I'm just going to angle it so you don't get so much glare. Home of a Needleworker 2. So now I have some fabric to stitch that on, which is good. I then kitted up my Merry Christmas My Dear. So I needed a few classic colourworks to do that. So there was the licorice red, there was a brown bear, and is it lemongrass? Lemongrass to go with the DMC. And I showed you this last time because that's a fabric that so-and-so sort of paired it up with, wondering whether or not it would be a good option to stitch on, and did a little floss toss, and I think the colours will work really well on it. So I might take that to the stitching retreat next week as a start. So I'll be taking my Heaven and Earth ornament, this Autumn at Harper Hollow, and then the witchy one, Primitive Hare, Salem one, and do those. So that is the plan, I think. What else did I get? Snowflake Serenade finally arrived through from so-and-so, so I've got that, and I'm not sure whether or not the little snowy reindeer kit from again Country Cottage Needleworks had come. I did show these in the previous video just by inserting photos, but now I've got the original patterns. Now the other thing I've kind of decided I'm going to do, and I've got the fabric ready, I've been watching some coffee tea dyeing FlossTube, not necessarily FlossTube, but uploads. So obviously Vonna's got one, and then Priscilla and Chelsea on the back of Vonna's have done theirs. So I went and I bought 4 lots of 28 count Monaco. So just plain Monaco, and I am going to this weekend at some point tea and coffee dye this. While I was in Tesco, I bought some of their real value coffee, you know, the low brand coffee and tea bags. So I got the coffee and the tea bags for £1. So I'm going to have a go at the kind of bacon based technique that I've seen. So I've got 4 lots of this. So I thought if I try 2 today and see how it goes, so I'm going to obviously sort of, I don't know, put them in the pan with coffee and tea, and then put them in the oven as they do, and just see how that goes. And then I'll have more of these kind of neutrally shades. Plus the Monaco it's really nice fabric. It has a bit more of a substantial feel than some of the linens, because linens can be a bit, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word, sort of, I don't know, softer, and it's not as a tighter weave, if you get what I mean. And I'm always worried that when I'm stitching, particularly things with small motifs and wording on, that you can see where you carry your thread, and it's hard, where especially when you're stitching words, you know, that just a back stitch, and you know you've got to kind of jump across. That always bothers me a little bit. Sorry, I'm just being nosy at one of my neighbours opposite. I don't quite know what she's doing. I think she's talking to somebody in the car. Sorry, ignore me. I am nosy. So yeah, I've got 4 lots of that to tea and coffee dye. So I thought I'll do 2 and then see what it looks like as a first attempt. And then that's about it. I went into Hobbycraft, and this is the other thing I'm going to do as well. I'll tell you what, if I had like more hours in the day and I didn't have to go to work, I tell you what, honestly, I'd have a great time. I've also been looking at Vonna's project bags. I put my stuff in, you know, those little plastic wallets with the pressed on the front, this thing. So a lot of my projects go into little cheap plastic bags like that, which are fine, you know, if you're not keeping your stuff on the Q-snap, you can just take it off, put the fabric in, your threads, floss goes in, whatever. and you know, your patterns. Well, they're fine, but I'd like to make some really nice project bags of my own. So I've been looking at Vonna's website upload about how she makes a project bag, and I thought, right, I'm going to have a go. So I got a couple of things from Hobbycraft while I was in. They had a sale on sewing stuff. Now I've got my sewing machine that my parents bought me a couple of years ago for Christmas that hasn't really come out of the box that much, and I'm a bit embarrassed about that and ashamed. So I thought, right, you know, you're going to do this and get on. So I got myself a rotary cutter because these were half price. So I picked up one of those. I also picked up some Velcro, sticky Velcro, because that again was half price. And then I picked up some sewing machine threads of different colours. They're not sort of mega, you know, like the Gutermann or Gutermann, depending on how you pronounce it, quality, but you know, I think they're all right, you know, for the nature of the type of stuff that I'm going to do. So I got those. So I need to order some fabric, some fusible interface, and then I can crack on really and get some project bags made over the next few weeks. So hopefully by the time I get back and do, you know, my update, you know, I'll have made maybe a project bag at that point. So I need to think about the fabric I want and order it, because that's the problem that we have, and this is going to take me onto the Hobbycraft thing, so bear with me while I have a bit of a whingy moan. Like years ago, I remember, like, you know, your local needlework store, you know, where you could go and buy everything cross-stitch. There was the haberdashery, you know, where they would sell all the fabrics, you know, the bias binding, for example, you know, you name it, everything to do with dressmaking, quilting. And, you know, then you get like these big alleged superstars like Hobbycraft in the UK coming in and eroding the market, because obviously they can sell things cheaper. Not particularly specialist shops that sell a smattering of everything and just don't do things very well. For example, I needed some knitting needles that I'm working on, circular knitting needles. So the circular ones are 40 centimetres, 5.5 diameter. Obviously you need 40 centimetre circular needles to knit a hat. That's what you can't have bigger ones because it just doesn't work, it just doesn't. Went in, they've got 5.5s in 80 centimetres, so you can knit a jumper, but you can't knit a hat. They didn't have any circular needles in 40 centimetres. So they like do things by half measures, so they'll do little bits, but just not enough where, you know, somebody who's really into knitting would be able to go in and buy everything they needed for a project. The same with the cross-stitch section. Now you're really lucky if you can get the colour DMC floss that you want in my store. As I said, for the one for the Harry Potter, can't get it from there, they don't have it in stock. No foreseeable future is it going to be in stock. They have a couple of kits. They have nothing decent in terms of fabric, so they've got maybe a couple of bags of Hare, 18 count Hare. Above and beyond that, no, because you have to stitch on Hare for cross stitch, don't you? They have a few hoops. I managed to pick up a Q-snap a while back from there, and that's about it. You know, and I then thought while I was in buying those few pieces for the project bags, let me have a look at the fabric. Well, the fabric was horrible. You know, you wouldn't want to make anything out of that, what they had in our store. They didn't have any fusible interface. They didn't sell a fusible interface. So, you know, you can't line your project bag, but you can make it with some horrible material that nobody would really want to make anything with. And it's just this, I don't know, like there's just not a selection in there for anything. So yeah, it's frustrating. So then you have to go online. So I'm going to have to buy my material online, pay shipping. I had to order my knitting needles online because obviously I'm not going to get them from there, am I? So yeah, it's just frustrating, isn't it? And when you think that stores like that, who don't have the full complement for any craft, have put, you know, real traditional craft stores, haberdasheries, needlework stores out of business, it's really sad, I think. But yeah, that's my bitchy moan over. I feel so much better for getting that off my chest. So, anyway, let's do some good stuff. So my giveaway. Da, da, da. Long awaited giveaway. Now, I've decided what I would do. And I have talked about this before, and I've been sort of planning what I would do for my 1,000 subscriber giveaway, and obviously I've surpassed that now, so I'm feeling incredibly guilty, and I do need to give you something back for all the support you've given me. So I bounced this idea around a while ago, and I've decided to go with it. And I'm going with it because you can choose what you want then. And then you're not going to be sent some things that you maybe might not ever use. And I just sometimes think that if you can pick something you really, really want and you need, but regardless of what it is, it might just be like you need a fabric, or you need some, I don't know, some floss, or I don't know, anything. You can do it, plus there's no postage charges involved as well, so it keeps everything down to a minimum, and it's instantaneous, so the minute you win, you've got it. So I've got 2 prizes up for grabs. The first one I've decided to do is a £25 gift voucher for so-and-so. So it's a UK website, and they sell all sorts. They've got patterns, they've got kits, they've got fabric, they've got floss of various different natures. So, you know, and you might not even have it linked to cross stitch. They do all sorts of different stuff on there. So, you know, you can buy fabric, whatever, it doesn't really matter, you know, like regular sewing fabric and not stitching fabric. So I thought I would do that as one of the prizes, and then you literally can pick what you want. And the second one, I will rack somebody a Heaven and Earth design pattern of whatever their choice is, and rack is random act of kindness if people don't know. So you will be able to email me and let me know which pattern you would like, and I will buy it for you and forward it to you. So that is what I'm going to do. So this is how it will work. I'd love you to be a subscriber to enter this, because I want to give something back to people who have sort of given me support and watched me over the last 18 months or so. So yeah, if you could be a subscriber. I don't want you to write giveaway in the comments, because obviously you've got people trolling for giveaway comments, and then they just come in and buy it, so it'll go to some random person who just comes on for the freebie. So please don't write giveaway. If you just, we'll just keep it really simple. If you just put so and so or Heaven and Earth as your comment, and then I'll know that you want to be entered into that one or the Heaven and Earth. And if you want to do both, just put both so and so and Heaven and Earth, and I'll enter you into both draws as well. So we'll just keep it really simple, and then all that we'll need to do is literally exchange email details, and then I'll be able to get the prizes to you like literally as soon as the draw's done. I think that's how we'll do it. So yeah, as I said, just comment so and so Heaven and Earth, or both so and so and Heaven and Earth, and that will be great. I'm going to do the draw on Saturday the 10th of February, so 3 weeks from today I'll make the draw, so get your comments in. I would also like to know if you'd like to see some of the other stuff that I do craft wise. I'm thinking of putting a video together, just doing a kind of a bit of a show and tell of some of the stuff that I've made that isn't on cross stitch. So obviously a couple of knitting things, some jewellery I've made, and some cards I've made. So if you think you might be interested in that, then just let me know. Obviously you don't have to watch that, because everything I do under cross stitch will go under the FlossTube heading, and anything that's unrelated will be, have a different titling, so you don't have to watch it, although it's probably likely to come from my channel. So that's it. I'm just looking around to see if there's anything I've forgotten in front of me. I think we're done. So yeah, that's lasted an awful lot longer than I thought it was going to do. As it does, because I talk too much, don't I? But I will be doing a kind of a vlog of the stitching retreat. So yeah, kind of preparation, journey, you know, the usual stuff, see what the lay of the land is. I know there's a few floss tubers there, not everybody likes cameras around, so we'll see what people's thoughts are around people filming. Maybe able to get some people who you know on camera. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So I will do that anyway. That would be uploaded kind of midweek, the week after next, because I go to the stitching retreat and then literally come back on the Sunday night, turn around, and I'm away with work for 2 days, so I need to drive to Birmingham on the Monday morning, so it won't probably go up until later on that week after, just because of the fact I'm not here to do it. So yeah, so I'm just going to carry on with those projects that I've been showing you there. As I said, I'm probably going to start the country cottage needlework, Merry Christmas My Dear. See how I go from there really, so it'll be those projects again for next time, all being well, unless, you know, something happens. So I am going to go and brew some tea and coffee and stick my Monaco in it and see what happens, and hopefully I won't set fire to the house when I cook it. So without further ado, I'll say goodbye to you. Have a fabulous stitchy month, and I will catch up with you really soon. Take care guys, bye for now.